I was always lost in my life before comedy, doing things that my parents wanted me to do. No, if you're not going to study, you're not going to succeed. They equate this to that. It's like always black and white.
Essentially, immigrant parents aren't against your dreams. They just don't want to see you be poor.
100%, 100%. It's all about the money. It's either A or you're sleeping outside, there's no other option. When I opened for Russell, he's like, oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Did you make money? I'm like, bro, I just performed in front of 16,000 people. I don't give a shit about the money.
You put up your character, David Joggins, there, and
Yep.
there is this reel that you put out, and then
He reposted it on his own page and then tagged me. I'm like, what the hell? This is insane. It felt like a mirror looking back at me because I was like, I've been doing you online for 3 years straight. But that's the whole point, is social media is so great for that reason. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't put myself out there and just try. I was like, yeah, I can do an impression of Gary Vee, let me do it. I can do an impression of David Goggins, let me do it. Hormozy, let me do it, right? I always believe I can access all those people by just one click.
as the saying goes, that nothing happens for decades, but then there are weeks when decades happen. Something like that
Yeah.
happened to your YouTube channel as well, where it just blew up.
Yeah, that was last year. Like within a month, it got like 10 million views. It was nuts. I literally gained over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube in a month from just that one video.
How much money are you making with all these gigs that you're doing? Welcome back to the podcast. I am in conversation with Neema Naz. Neema is a TikTok sensation with over 21 million likes. He's an astute storyteller, actor, and comedian who has a knack of turning everyday moments into viral hits. He's also a rising star who has shared the stage with the likes of comedy legends like Russell Peters. In today's episode, we dive deep into his incredible journey of how he dropped out of college and dived all into the world of comedy and content creation. We get real. We talk about his early days, the struggles he had to overcome, the kind of support he and I have received from our parents to follow our passions and dreams, and the pivotal moments that catapulted him to fame. You will love how dedicated and focused Neema is about his craft and getting better every single day. I know that this is just the beginning for him, and Neema will be a global star very soon. So buckle up for a chat filled with laughs, inspiration, and a deep dive into the extraordinary life of Neema Naz. Before I let you go, today's episode is brought to you by Kent Water Purification Systems. They are the pioneers in providing you with tasty, healthy, and chemical-free water. Not only are their water softeners great to reduce hair fall, but they have some amazing benefits towards your laundry and dishes. This is their offer for the current month. I recommend that you visit kentwater.ca and schedule a free water test to learn and understand more about the benefits of installing a water purification system. Thanks and enjoy the chat. So I came across you for the first time at the Scotiabank Arena.
Oh,
I
wow.
had gone to see Russell Peters with my friends, and I remember you opening the show for him. And I do not recall such a strong opening act ever. Now,
Wow.
as somebody who is not very hands on with all the information that goes on in that side of the industry, usually the perception of people is that comedians who open, they are not supposed to be as funny, because then they don't want to take they don't want to take all the attention away from the main act. But I was like, damn, man, this guy is hilarious. And we guys have been, me and my friends have been following you ever since. So I'm going to dive right into it. Take me through what's happening, the emotions, the journey there. You're opening to a crowd of about 15 to 20,000 people in your hometown, and you're about to go onto the stage just before Russell Peters. And I believe that he's somebody who's influenced you as a comedian as well through the years that you've been going through and practicing and trying to be a comedian and working your craft. Share with me the emotions there and the journey.
Russell Peters, first of all, is definitely a huge inspiration to me and many other comedians that are in my generation, because we grew up listening and watching him in our own homes, right? Whether you're Indian, Chinese, Persian, Arab, whatever, every single background, every ethnicity you can think of. I grew up watching Russell Peters. If you're into comedy, or if you are a comedian, you're inspired by him in some way or some way or another. For me, he was one of the first people that kind of spoke to me into my soul and my heart as a funny person. And growing up, me and my all my friends, we would quote all his jokes, and I'm sure you have too with your friends, right? Like it was just a common thing we would do every single day in school, in the middle of class, in recess, all those times. And so the fact that fast forward 15, 20 years or whatever, and I get to open for him, it was definitely a dream come true and a big milestone for my career and my life in general. And yeah, it was. I wasn't gonna not go all in and do my best when the opportunity was calling my name. So yeah, it was amazing.
And tell me the feeling, because this is something that you've been working towards, because this is the first time you're opening to such a big crowd.
Right. Yeah. Because before that, the biggest audience I ever performed in front of was like 400 people or so. Yeah. Like to jump from that to, because actually the first time I opened for him was in Ottawa in the Senators Stadium, which was, but then I think there's about
Yeah.
like 10,000 people, which is still a lot. But
Of course.
that was the very first time. And that was like it was insane. You like, it's this euphoric feeling that just takes over your body, and you become a different person in a way. It's like I'm not even thinking on stage, I'm just being, because I'm so happy and so excited to be there. And yeah, so that first night, it was great. It was one of the best sets I think I've ever had on stage. It was because I was just so excited. There's so much adrenaline rushing through my veins, and it's a big opportunity. I want to kill it, right? I want to do the best job I can, and I just feel like I just put it all out there in the first night, and then the next night, again in Kingston, 4,000 people, and then finally in Toronto at Scotiabank in front of 16,000 people, and that was just like unreal.
And you absolutely killed it, man. I can say this because I was in the audience, and I still remember the skit, and I saw your special as well. So I do remember the skit where it was the taxi driver part, and then the entire skit on making out with your girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, you had everybody in splits. Awesome. Listen, the reason why I do this podcast is because I hope to inspire and motivate people through the conversations I have with people like yourself who are looking for that little spark of inspiration and motivation. There are a lot of people who want to become stand up comedians. There are a lot of people who probably are on a different path because of whatever came. To them in life, and they deviated from their goal of becoming a stand-up comedian. I want to go down this journey with you where you give it to us real time and tell us how things are for a comedian when they start out. I know for a fact that you and I share our beliefs towards the education system, which I think requires a lot of improvement, wherein you need to be able to identify what somebody is passionate about or good at a early age. However much I know that we need to try a lot of things, but that entire phase when you were down in the dumps, where you did not get the college that you wanted to go to, and eventually you finally got into UFT, but the silver lining there was that the course that you did at Humber College, right? Tell me what that course was. Tell me what you learned over there, and then I want to understand what was the journey from there on to now.
I was always lost in my life before comedy, because I was always mediocre at everything. I wasn't special in one thing, and I was always just kind of cruising by, doing things that my parents wanted me to do, or other people thought was best for me to do. Whether that's in school or extracurriculars or tutoring or whatnot, right? I did all those things because I felt like it was the thing to do, right? Because everyone's doing that stuff, and it's like, oh, I have to get better at math, I have to get better at science, I have to get better at reading or whatnot. And I was decent in those courses, in those classes, obviously, because I came from immigrant parents, and if I don't pass, then I'm screwed, right? You know what I'm saying? You know how it is.
Absolutely.
It's either A or you're sleeping outside. There's no other option. So just by that trade, I would always just put in like bare minimum effort just to like get by, because I didn't really care. I never really cared as much for really anything because I wasn't really passionate about any of them. I liked
Hmm.
them, but it wasn't a full passion of mine. And it was always this weird feeling I had inside my body growing up. And to this day, I feel it, where I always, like, deep down inside, knew or felt and believed that, like, there's no way this is what life is going to be for me. Like, I can't be doing math homework or like going to lectures and listening to someone teach me about something I don't really care about. There's no way I'm supposed to be doing this in my life. And it was weird. And I had no idea that I was going to be a comedian this whole time too, right? So I always had this like just deep feeling that I was meant to be doing something great. I just didn't know what at the time until I was in university, and I had never watched a stand up show before in my life, and I barely was watching stand up comedy. But I was heavily into YouTube from the early high
Yeah.
school days. All my friends, we loved YouTube. I loved vloggers. I loved watching people doing skits on YouTube, or random funny videos that they would do. And I was always like, oh man, I wish I could do that one day. I wish I could do that. I was constantly saying. And then university rolled around, and one of the guys who I was friends with, he actually introduced me to stand up comedy because he knew I liked comedy. I liked making people laugh because I was always funny and I would make others laugh. And I loved
Yeah.
just being funny and like just fun, doing fun things. And he was like, "Oh, hey, we should go to this comedy show." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like sure, I would love that. I've never been. I didn't even think about that." And so when we went, the show that we actually went to was an amateur Tuesday night show run by Humber Comedy students. And when I was there, I was we were one of like 7 people in the audience, and it was terrible. But I was so excited to be there because I'm watching these amateur young 18, 19, 20, 21 year old kids doing 2 minutes of stand up for nobody and not getting any laughs, but I was hooked immediately. And that was the day I realized and I discovered that there's a path to go into comedy. And like ever since that day, I never looked back. I found out that there was a program. I immediately dropped out of university and wanted to pursue comedy because it clicked for me all at once. And I was like, I have to do this. This is my call. It's like calling me. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. And the thing is, when I did drop out and I wanted to go all in into comedy, there was no plan B for me either, because it's
Yeah.
either this or nothing. Because I was like, this is my opportunity, my chance to take over and to finally achieve something special that I've always deep down inside needed to do from since I was a kid. And so it's just that childlike fun that's still in me when it comes to comedy, and that's what makes it special.
I love the journey so far. Genuinely, for people who want to pursue this, so just to understand, what was the cost like? What did you learn over there? Was there anything specific that you were doing to hone your skill, etc.?
I was completely dedicated to getting as good as possible in the crafts of comedy because I
Right.
just dropped out of school, and my parents surprisingly were quite supportive, but they just wanted me to do something that I enjoyed doing, but to do it well. They
Right.
didn't care about anything else. They just wanted me to put in the effort and to like really try to achieve something, and that really helped me early on. Coming from
Of
immigrant
course.
parents, it helped me a lot because being so used to like feeling the judgment or the pressure of like acing a test or doing your homework and stuff. It kind of actually helped me in my career now because it built that drive in me to be so great at comedy and building to become great, that like I wanted to just do anything I can to just to improve and become a better comedian. And so I've been in this for almost 9 years total, and I feel like I'm
Yep.
just hitting my stride now and finding my voice now, because it takes so long to actually like hone your voice and to gain the skills and the confidence on stage to actually like hold your own. And I also love acting. I'm an actor too, so I do all those things as well. And I make sketches online, as you know, and
I've seen and a big fan of those.
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
going to get to that.
Yeah, we will. We will. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so the first couple of years, I really took it seriously more than anything. Like I got everything I wanted to out of the program I did. I learned a lot about stand up, about writing, about sketch writing, TV writing, improv, physical comedy, everything.
This is everything that you learned during the course. And then, obviously, because this is something that you're passionate about, you're even doing it outside, understanding, learning, watching, observing from other people, YouTube, whatever sources that you
Yeah.
have of how to put everything together.
Yeah, for sure. Because we had teachers who were teaching the courses that were like have been in comedy for a while, and like I came into it like as an amateur, and I wanted to just like learn anything. I don't care. Just teach me anything. I'll learn. I'm open to all of it. And then you had to be practical and be proactive and take those skills that take the information that you learn and apply it to the real world. And so during the days, I would be in class and learning all these things and doing these assignments, like performing in front of your class, or like writing a minute of material and practicing it, or doing a scene or whatever it was. And then at nighttime, every single night, I would travel into the city on a streetcar for like 45 minutes to an hour just to go do like the worst open mics possible. But that was the only way that you were going to learn, is like put yourself into the real world and just grind. I had to hustle. And so every night I would do like 2 3 open mics on average for 2 years straight. Every night I was out. And so that's the drive I had. And I've never in my life before that did anything remotely close to that. Like the amount of effort and hard work I put into it, I'd never put into anything else in my life. And that clearly was shown to my family and my parents, right? And they were like actually very impressed about that. And so that also like helped them believe it a little bit more too, because they're like, oh wow, he's actually like putting in work, and so maybe this is like the right path for him, right? So, and having support from people you care about early on does make it much easier along the way, because I know people who are in my position who are like have immigrant parents and they want to do things that they have a passion for and that they love, but then they don't have the proper backing system as I do, and like you can see how it can discourage them and sway them away from their passion, and then like they end up just kind of falling off, right? So all those things came together for me at the same time, and it just like I'm just very grateful to be in the position I am now and to be able to do the things I love every day, to make people laugh.
Killing it, man. Absolutely killing it. What I want to understand is, in people like me who have limited knowledge about a different career, I have been a corporate slave all my life, and very recently transitioned into doing something of my own.
Nice.
But for people like us, I want to understand. So, how much money are you making with all these gigs that you're doing on the side, open mics, etc.?
When I was first starting,
Yes,
oh, nothing. I was making zero. I was losing money. I've been losing money for
losing
9 years. Yeah. No, legit. Like it's not an easy route to take, and it's not for everyone. Along the way, you find ways to make it work if you really are
Mm-hmm.
dedicated, and then you have to
Yeah.
understand it's not going to happen overnight, right? Like it takes a decade or maybe more sometimes to actually see some results. And so, yeah, like I would get cash from like random gigs here and there, but I was never making enough to like hold my own, right? Just doing stand up. And so that's why I always had a knack for making videos at the same time from the start, because I knew that like YouTube was a different route and a different platform to create monetization eventually, or something of the sort, right? And then eventually social media came around, right? Like Instagram, TikTok, all those things that pushed me up even more. And then like luckily I've been lucky enough to have a lot of great opportunities, both just with comedy itself and the money that I've made, just because of the platforms I've built. And so, yeah, but it's always a grind. It's always a grind, and it's not
Of
ever
course.
coming easy. But that's the whole point. Is like I never want it to be easy. I want it to be challenged, because the guy who started at the beginning, I never want to lose that drive. And so, and I haven't this whole time. So that obviously tells me I am on the right path and I'm doing the right things, and I equally love it, if not more.
Love it. And, I genuinely believe that comedians are by far the best storytellers, because I see a lot of comedy. stand-up comedy, and try and watch as much as I can in Toronto. And luckily, we have a lot of people who come in into Toronto and perform as well. But that, if even if you take on an average about an hour gig, you start with these hooks and these pointers, and that eventually you take the viewer on this journey where you're making them laugh, and then eventually you connect all the dots. So the storytelling skills are by far the best. You mentioned that you was making videos, and after having seen a few of your podcasts, and a shout out to Danny Miranda, he did make my life a lot easier,
Oh,
because
nice.
the two podcasts that you did with him, I was just for my research, I saw those, and he covered some amazing topics. I know that Gary Vee has played a significant role in your career as well, and shaping it in terms of definitely the content side of it that you're doing.
Mhm.
I only wish I was like a fly on the wall in the room where you and he were talking. So tell me something. When you met Gary Vee, what was that you spoke to him about? Did you have any time to get some information from him on what you're doing and how he's influenced you? What was that conversation like?
Honestly, it was so surreal, like meeting him. It felt like a mirror looking back at me because I was like, I've been doing you online for 3 years straight, and the amount of like content that I've been making is solely mainly because of him, because he's
Hmm.
the guy who kind of inspired me from the beginning of like social media age to just to keep posting daily content, or like micro content to build your audience. So he really changed my life in a way, because I literally took his advice, made it my own by literally doing impressions of him, and then now I'm meeting him and I'm on stage with him. It's like the biggest trip of my life. But it just goes to show that when you just do things that you find funny or that you enjoy doing, that you love, it'll come back to you tenfold. Like things will start to work eventually. So I just kind of took that advice, and it was just so surreal meeting him. Even though we only chatted for like 7 minutes the first time I met him, because he's obviously the busiest guy in the world. He had like three security
Clearly.
guards, one assistant, a producer, three videographers with him. Like it was insane. But it was just like a very short, quick chat. But just being in his presence just made me so grateful. And I know he always talks about being grateful and gratitude and all those things, but like I genuinely felt that so much that it inspired me again, because I was like, the person that I've looked up to for so long is here in person, giving me his time when he didn't have to, and it gave me the opportunity that I have right now when he didn't have to. And that right there taught me a lot, because I was like, this guy has no reason being in the same room as me. But that's how humble he is. And it taught me a lot about myself too, because I was like, well, I have no excuse of ever brushing anyone off. Not that I would, but it's like, if he has time for me and other people around, then like there's no one's. I'm not above anyone, and so it was just like a nice reminder of how to treat people with kindness, because that's how he is. And yeah, it was just such a surreal moment, and another huge milestone in my life and my career.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that you're first a stand-up comedian and then a content creator, right? What keeps you going? You've said that it's been 9 years of hustle so far, and now it is that when you're finding your voice. I mean, typically, and I'm just trying to draw a parallel over here in the corporate world, wherein you finish your MBA, you finish your masters, then you join a job. There is a stable income, and then there is this entire rat race that you're a part of. And there are a lot of parallels that one can draw here as well. I have had a lot of career coaches come in on my podcast earlier to help people give advice on how to navigate their careers and especially immigrants when they move to Canada because they don't have the relative Canadian experience. One of the ways people say is that, hey, this is how you can prove your worth is go volunteer, which is do free stuff. And once you're in there, people will see you working, they'll see your values, they'll see whether you're good or not, and you have get a shot to prove yourself. You're doing the same thing in your career as well,
Right.
right? You're going for these open nights where you're saying that you're basically losing money, if nothing else, and not making money. And but 9 years, the grind has been on. These the moments which, the milestones that keep you motivated and keep giving you that inspiration, um, getting called. And the funny part is that Gary Vee's team reached out to you, Russell Peters' team reached out to you,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So it was all you attracting and manifesting this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about the mindset here.
Well,
That
yeah.
how have you not had? I mean, I'm sure that there would have been moments where you would have been like, "Am I doing the right thing?"
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, every artist, entrepreneur goes through that at some point where they feel discouraged or deflated when something doesn't go well. Like, I'm gonna be honest. This past year, it's been actually the best for my stand up career, just in terms of like building my stand up set and my because I'm going on tour next year, and so I've been building my new stand up 45 minutes to an hour, and it's the best experience I've gotten in my whole career because of the amount of stage time I've been getting, and the amount of practice I've put into it. It's been the best in terms of that stuff. But in terms of everything else has been like really hard. Like building platforms, like it's been very stagnant for me and my because my older brother, he manages me and we work together. We're part of the
Yep.
A Stupid group. Um,
Yes.
and we've been working very hard to build my brand more and more every day, but it's been at a standstill for like 6 months at this point. Slow growth here and there, but for the most part it's like been really stagnant. And so there are times where it gets very tough and it's stressful because you're like, well, if this is the way to get people to come to your live shows, to pay money to see you live and to support you, then you know if it's stuck at this certain following, then it's like you can only go so far, right? And so there's that pressure of continuing to build a following and like trying new things, and not knowing what's going to hit or what's not going to hit, right? And so there's those struggles too of like getting creators block, or no videos are hitting, so you just like you start to think like, oh shit, am I even funny anymore? Do people care about me anymore? Am I relevant? All these real thoughts come to your head. But for me, at the end of the day, no matter what thoughts I have, there's no way I'm quitting. So that's for sure. But then along the way, yeah, like there are moments, like I said, where for 6 months or whatever, there's stress. There's like you have these, you overthink. You're like, oh man, what the fuck? Like you start like um, you start worrying a little bit. You start to get concerned, right? But then those things never go away. It's but you just get better at dealing with them, those thoughts. So it's just about matter of like what you do to help yourself in those moments, like. And it's not even about creating more content or just doing more work. It's actually very valuable working on your own mind and your own body, because those are the things that will push the rest of the things forward. So it's like doing meditations for me has helped me calm myself down more, make better decisions, be more calm and at peace. Um, you know, like kind of like just grow a thicker skin, or like, writing things down, like journaling in the mornings, planning my days out, just self care pretty much. Because if you're not taking care of the human, then the performer will never be 100%, right? So it's these moments where you have to like kind of dial into your own mindset and kind of level yourself out, because otherwise it's very easy to spiral and then like give up, or like people get discouraged and they like this is where they stop working as hard. But in my mind, I'm like, if I don't take care of myself more to build myself up, then I can't even do the things I need to do to build the platforms, to build my skills and get better at comedy or whatnot, right? So
I love the drive, Nima. Absolutely love the drive that you have, and what's commendable is that the more of these milestones that you're achieving, it just seems that it is making you hungrier to achieve more. So you're not resting on any of the laurels or any of the milestones that you've been able to achieve. Which, by the way, for the audience and specifically for the Indian audience that listens to me and people who are going to be watching this podcast in India, Neema has over 1 million followers across his different platforms, and you've been retweeted by David Goggins. You have collabed with Alex Hermosi.
Okay.
Let's talk about David Goggins first. You
Yep.
put up your character David Joggins there, and
Yep.
there is this reel that you put out, and then David Goggins retweets it.
This is Goggins,
Nice.
baby.
Yes.
That's his brand.
What's the reaction in the morning?
Oh, well, he reposted it on his own page. He actually posted the video and then tagged me. I'm like, what the hell? This is insane. I'm like, what is going on? Right? But that's the whole point. Is social media is so great for that reason. Like I said with the Gary Vee stuff, it's like that wouldn't have happened if I didn't put myself out there and just try. But I was like, yeah, I can do an impression of Gary Vee. Let me do it. I can do an impression of David Goggins. Let me do it. Hormozy. Let me do it. Right? And I always believe I can access all those people by just one click, posting the video and tagging them. You never know. And so far, most of the people I've done impressions of have either acknowledged it, reposted, shared it, collabed me, or I've met them in person. And I've also met Hormozy in person too, and we've talked. And so like these opportunities would never come if you didn't put yourself out there and just try it, right? So yeah, it's insane.
I'm just trying to paint this picture in my head. Of course, Gary Vee keeps saying that build content, you're going to be shit for a while. Hormozy keeps saying the more you do, the better you get. So for you, all this had eventually started in during those stand-up comedy nights where open mics, where you were just going back to those clubs over and over again while you were improving and making those improvements. And then content creation was probably the next best thing that came to it, and it was just natural progression from there on.
Yeah, I mean, there was no scenario for me where I wasn't gonna just keep showing up, because nothing bad will come from continuing to just put in the effort and try. Trying is cool, trying is fun, and you can only learn from trial, whether it's something negative or positive or whatever, right? You'll always learn something. And so that's my philosophy, is whether I get better or not, I know I'll learn something new each time I try. So there's no scenario where I'll ever just stop, because I know that if I stop, and that's actually a big Hormozy quote too, that recently my brother and I have been really focusing on and really taking in, is I think he says, no one ever fails. They just stop trying. Like they just, what I'm saying? Like you don't fail. You just,
Yep.
they just stop. So that's it, right?
You
Like
quit, essentially.
yeah. It's like if you don't quit, you're not gonna lose.
And your journey pretty much, deciphers and is an embodiment of what he actually says. That he says that don't look at it success and measure it in terms of years, but look at it in terms of decades. And if you're closing in on the first decade, and the last year and a half, as you said, has been the best, during which you've been putting out YouTube videos. With you started off with a cracked iPhone back in 2015, and you were doing that. And they said, right, as the saying goes, that nothing happens for decades, but then there are weeks when decades happen. Something like that
Yeah.
happened to your YouTube channel as well, where it just blew up.
Yeah, that was last year. On Shorts, like one of the first videos that went viral was this Greek video. So random. It was just me playing a Greek character with my friend Alex, and she's Greek. And like within a month, it got like 10 million views. It was nuts. And then I literally gained over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube in a month from just that one video, and a couple other ones too. But you just never know. I had no idea that would happen. But I was like, I'm still gonna post my stuff like I always do. Who would have thought that would have happened, right? But the thing is, it's slowed down heavily since, but slowly but surely keeps adding, right? But that's the point, because maybe 3 years from now there'll be another month where I get 1 million subscribers in a month. You never know. I don't even care. Like I don't even I those that's one thing I'm very confident in is eventually I have this like weird belief in my soul, in my heart, in my mind, in my body that one way or another things will work out. I always believe that. I'm always very optimistic about my life and my career. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I think that way. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't know where it comes from because not really anyone in my family is like that. It's just me because everyone, immigrant parents too. They're like no, like no. Oh, this is not gonna work out. No, no, we don't have this. We don't. That's it's like no. They're more realistic. Like same with I'm sure your parents too, right? Like they're much more realistic and like they don't have belief. They're like, no, if you're not going to study, you are not going to succeed. It's like like it's like they equate this to that. It's like always black and white, right? But I don't see it black and white. I'm like, no, I don't care. Like there's other ways around things. We'll figure it out. Even though it sucks, it could suck for a year straight and still I'll be like, well, maybe this is a part of the plan. Maybe it's supposed to happen this way. But I'll tell you this right now: there's no way this is the end. This is no way this is how my career goes or it's like I there's no scenario in my head where I'll just be like, coasting at the same level my whole career because like I believe one day I will be famous. I'll be one of the best comedians or entertainers in the world. I believe that in my soul. Maybe I'm delusional and we're gonna look back at this in 20 years and I'm gonna still be here and then we're gonna be like, yo, Neema, like that was really like nice that you that you thought of it that way, but sorry, but I don't care because at least I know I believed in it and I still tried along the way and I'm happy doing that and at least I did something. I didn't give up and there's no what ifs. That's what I hate the most is wondering what if because regret is probably one of the worst things a human being could feel and I'd never want to feel regret.
You're definitely gonna make it. I feel it in my bones just as much as you do. Listening to you,
Thanks.
having seen your journey, man, that you're gonna be a superstar, and you're already making strides towards that.
Thank you.
And it's just so inspiring to see somebody so focused and in general as well. I mean, talk about beating the stereotypes, and I'm not trying to take a shit on anybody with this, but in general, and if even if you talk about immigrant parents, and typically you understand the typical mentality that people go through, you've chosen a very different path. You've been extremely fortunate that ways to have parents who were very open to the idea. And I know that you've said this out aloud as well, and you've acknowledged the fact that mom and dad were very supportive of the idea, and they saw that when you got all in, and your father had said this, that if you're doing this, then just give it your all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Traditionally, the elder brother, who is the more responsible one, or the scholar, you guys have now started a business, and the stupid group company is, now exactly it's gonna grow even bigger. So here is this one person who was completely disillusioned about his career, did not make it to college, or felt like a loser. From there to here, over 9 years, the journey has been commendable, man. And this is something which a lot of other people need, because creative people are very different. It is not about Excel sheets and presentations in this world. It is about doing different things as well. And the most important thing is, I don't know, now, I've seen so many of the podcasts that you've been on that I'm confused whether this is your podcast or somebody else's. But I think you mentioned this, that what are these people doing who are going and doing all these jobs? And I'm not dissing on anybody there. Listen, whoever wants to pursue whatever, but the so-called 9 to 5ers, they need entertainment. And where are they turning? Who are they turning to? People like you, the creative people, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is absolutely commendable, the zeal with which you attack your craft, and that, the never give up. What is your morning routine like? Because listen, I have not come across too many people who are actually waking up, meditating, journaling, cold plunging, and then having ghee coffee, and then starting their day. I don't know how that works, but you gotta tell me that how are you keeping and packing all this in, man?
No, yeah. first I'll say, about the 9 to 5 people. Like, I actually do think it's nice. Like, people, there should be people doing 9 to 5 because
Of course.
we need people like that. And some people's brains are catered towards that, and it's fine, and they actually enjoy it. By all means, if you enjoy it, go do that. But my thing is, like, I wish more people would value taking a risk and doing things that they actually enjoy doing in this one life that we have, because
Hmm.
otherwise, like I said, like, you don't want to regret things when you're older. And that's the thing my brother told me one time, is he went into a senior home near our house back home in Canada. And he just went there one day just to inquire and just to talk to the elderly people who are in the senior homes to see, what they're how they thought and everything. And the most common thing he heard from everyone was that they regretted something that they didn't do because of some external factor that was in the way, whether it was work or, a relationship that they weren't fully involved in or cared about, or whatever reason. And they all said that regret is probably one of the worst things that they've had to deal with till this day. And and they're in their last years of their lives, and to feel that is, I can't imagine that being great at all. And so I feel like, in order to avoid those things, people like myself or any creators or artists who take the risks, who take the chance on themselves to, become an entrepreneur, become an artist, become a comedian, and to show the world that what's possible is influential and inspirational to the people who might not have it easy growing up, or like they have immigrant parents and like there's pressure to like go to school instead of becoming a painter or what, right? I feel like because of social media, it has been helping a lot more. I think because it's reaching a wider audience of people, and more people are starting to understand, like, oh, like, the corporate world isn't for everyone, and it shouldn't be for everyone. Like, we need more people who are artists because, like you said, people who work 9 to 5s, they turn to art, to us, to entertain themselves, to get by their day and their weeks and their months. And so I definitely commend people who take that risk, like yourself too, right? You're doing this right now. It's like, it's amazing, right? It's a big thing. I'm sure, I don't know if your parents support it or not, or they have been, or they even know, but
I pulled off something like what you did, man. I didn't tell them that I'd quit my job until about they were supposed to visit me,
oh,
and I had so I was like, okay, now I need to tell them because
yeah,
now they're coming over here and they won't see
right,
me going. I was like, okay, listen, but before you, this is what I've done.
all right,
I did that deathbed test where I was like, I was not made for Excels and PowerPoints, and I
yeah,
wanted to do something. So this is me basically, Nima, pursuing my career, my childhood dream of being an anchor. I wanted to host
yeah,
a sports show. I mean,
nice,
I don't know if that happens or not, but this is something which is very close
so
to it, and
close,
that was my thinking like 20 years ago. Here is where I can have that conversation, and eventually it's something. It started off with a very selfish reason that can I help Chirag 20 years back, who went for that one audition, didn't get through, and then took that as a failure for the rest of his remaining life, and pivoted into a career where I was like, okay, let's have a more stable sort of an approach towards life. Let's do this. I was changing jobs every 3 years, and somewhere down the line, I was just getting extremely disappointed and bored with how things were turning out to be. COVID me up even more because then suddenly I think everybody, and specifically for me, it was a wake up call in the sense that life is very fragile. You don't know what happens, and the same thing similar to what your brother told you when he visited the senior living home. The second most common thing that they say about after not having taken regrets is looking after your health, and that
big,
kind of played in my mind. I was like, you can pretty much die anytime,
yeah,
so what do you do then? So I was like, okay, let's try and do this and we'll see where we go. And things have been
fantastic.
all right, but I've never been happier, man.
That's what matters the most. That's all that matters, honestly. Because, like you said, you only live one life, and it's like, are you gonna care whether or not you finish that Excel sheet 30 years ago when you're older, or are you gonna like, are you gonna be happy that you tried something that you have always wanted to do since you were a kid, and you actually did stuff that was fun? It's like, yeah, you're gonna the latter, obviously. So I think that's amazing, and that's what I'm saying. But like, and it's funny that you didn't tell your parents, obviously, either, because, and I understand, I get it, because I know so many of my friends too, like they're Indian or Tamil or Chinese, right? It's like it's the same thing. It's like they're worried about what their parents are going to think. But I'm like, in 30 years from now, when they're gone, are you still going to do it for those people, for your parents? No, because they're not even around. So why would you even think that way? Obviously, easier said than done, but it's just I just feel like it's worth thinking about, and in a deep way. And so it's like, yeah, like your parents, obviously, they're like, sports. What do you mean? Why do you just watch sports? It's like, do it as a hobby. Like they don't get it, and I don't blame them, because they came from a different world too. But because our generation is growing in a different way, it's like, why not take that
Yeah.
risk? It's like it's up to us to almost form that new generation of like doing things that you actually love, because our parents couldn't do that, right? This is the whole point, is to adapt the
True.
generation to, you know, just go a different way.
See, I mean, I've been fortunate, Nima. I mean, a lot of parallels to be drawn over here that with dad and mom have been absolute rock stars. They've been like, fine, man. We are supporting you. Do what you want to do. So that just gives you more confidence, and that's the wind that you need beneath your wings to just freaking go at it, right? I think, and this is my analogy, that essentially immigrant parents aren't against your dreams. They just don't want to see you be poor
Yeah,
or
yeah.
struggle in life.
100%, 100%. That's it. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. 100%.
They're
They don't care
like,
about
please
anything
be
else.
comfortable.
Bro, it's so true.
How will you fucking pay the mortgage? What will happen?
Oh, your hobby, you're gonna pay for your mortgage? Okay, it's like, no, it's like they don't get it, right there, which I get. It makes sense why they would, like, I always have a joke I'm working on now, where it's about like how when I first started doing comedy, everything has to do with money. Like my dad, the first thing he'll ask me is like, how much money you make? Huh? How much money? Where's the money? Like, it's like not even like, hey, how are you? How is your career going? Where is money? It's like, you know, it's like, bro, like I just, it's like, when I opened for Russell, he's like, "Oh, nice, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, did you make money?" I'm like, "Bro, I just performed in front of 16,000 people. Like, I don't give a shit about the money. What are you, Jason Statham? Like, where's the money? It's like, come
Oh
on,
man.
yeah, but
That's hilarious. Tell me something, and I've been always intrigued to ask this to a comedian, that what's the journey of a joke? How do you get down to writing that one joke, and what's the journey there? So how do you break it down into phases? Because a little bit that I know, there is like, okay, you have to open with a certain thing, set some context, then there is the punchline. So what's the journey of a joke?
It's different for everyone, but for me, I have two folders in my phone. One is for stand-up material ideas, and then the other one is for sketch video ideas to to act in or to film. And I could be walking, talking to someone, grocery shopping, taking a shower, whatever it is, and immediately when I think of something that could be funny, I'll write it in my notes folder, and then it's not always going to be funny, but it's just an idea at first, right? It's a premise. And then later, when you go to write it out on paper, you just take a few of the ideas that you have right in your notes, and you try to like hash it out. You try to flesh it out and see if there's something there. And then, I'll write some of the beats, like the main lines I want to say for each of the jokes. And then, like, you can only prepare so much. You don't want to be word for word all the time, because sometimes it takes the creativity out of it when you're on stage, when you're trying to work on new stuff. And then that's it. Like, I'll just go on stage and I'll just go based off what I kind of wrote, and then try to figure out in the moment. And you just kind of feel it. You feel your own but that's why it matters the amount of stage time you get in the early years, because like the 10,000 hour rule is true. It's like, get on stage as much as possible, because you'll build more confidence, you'll find your voice better and easier, and you'll just know how to like hold your own when you're on stage and just be the most comfortable person. And then when you're finally in that element, then you'll truly be yourself, and that's where the real funny will come. And that's where I feel like I'm starting to get now, whereas like before, when you're more amateur, you go up with that 5 minutes and like you go pretty much word for word because like you're not as confident in like veering off and trying new things. But now I go up and like I have a certain base of what I want to say, and then I'll try like a random line here, or like I'll say this word differently, or I'll take a pause here, and then so it's just like there's a magic that comes with it. It's like you can't even explain it. So that's pretty much the process for me, and everyone's different. Obviously, my style. Obviously, everyone's style is different too, right? So, but my style is I'm very physical, so I use my body a lot too, and my facial expression. So those also matter when I'm saying the jokes. So it's like I physically can't even write it. I have to just think about it and do it in the moment on stage. So
I know what you're saying because from what I recall, when I saw you open at the Scotiabank Arena,
hi,
that
yeah,
entire skit that you did, it is, of course, the content is funny, but the way your expressions, the voice modulation, the body language, everything that adds up to the drama, right? And I mean, of course, you're a fantastic actor as well because I saw that same skit last night because I was like, okay, let me just go back and see the
right,
special as well. And it just took me back to Scotiabank Arena. I remember, 16,000 people laughing their asses
all
off
right.
with me over there. You had us in splits, man.
That's good. I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, it's so funny you mentioned that because I'm like I look back at that special I posted. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And that's the thing too is like,
Imposter syndrome?
yeah. I mean, like it's okay. Like but that had to happen for me to in order for me to grow into what I am now. You know what I'm saying? Like if I didn't post that or do those things, then I wouldn't learn and like grow from that. So I'm happy that I have that base of work out there because it would be a concern if I just kept doing the same thing as I was doing and the style I had in that same set because like I look back on some of the things I was saying in that special and I was like it's all right, like I'm already way better and sharper than these jokes now because of more experience. I'm older, right? Like I've learned new things. I've pushed myself more in terms of the writing, so it's like it's already so much better than new stuff I'm doing than the whole special that I've had. That material was from the first 7 years of my career, all in one, and then within 6 months, I'm already better than the past 7 years. So that's what happens at a certain point is like you improve exponentially, and that's why I'm excited more than ever for this next tour because I just know it's gonna blow it out of the water. Like it's gonna be way better already, and it's like the people around me who have seen me do some of the new jokes, like they also say the same thing. It's like this is like night and day, and yeah, so that's why it's just all very exciting to me.
So you've pretty much been away from Canada and Toronto for about 7 months now.
Yeah, yeah.
When are you back in the city?
Supposed to come back in end of this year, pretty much. So another few more months at least. Yeah,
So everybody would be excited to be looking forward to the new material that is coming up I certainly am. That's perfect. Thank you for
that's it.
doing this, Neema. I think this has been a great chat. I was extremely excited about getting across the camera with you. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Beta,
Yes.
Chirag, beta. You are good boy. You are good boy. You are doing this fantastic. You are doing podcast. I love it. This is something completely amazing. Look.
Oh
Chirag is
man,
doing podcast. Chirag is doing great podcast. What is your son doing? What is your son doing?
I'm gonna send this to my dad. Definitely, I'm making a reel out of it.